A shy woman comforted a crying child. Unaware, the millionaire. Father was watching close. By Emily Harper had never been good at crowds. She preferred the quiet of books, the hush of libraries, and the company of her cat to noisy shopping malls. But that afternoon, against her better judgment, she had stopped by the cafe downtown to pick up a warm drink before heading home. As she stood in line, she noticed a little boy sitting on the floor near the corner table. His cheeks were streaked with tears, his small backpack discarded beside him. People walked past, too busy to notice or too hurried to care. Emily's heart clenched. She hesitated. Talking to strangers wasn't her strength, but something inside pushed her forward. Kneeling, she spoke softly. "Hey there, are you okay?" The boy sniffled, clutching a crumpled napkin in his fist. "I lost my dad. He said he'd be right back, but he didn't come." His little voice broke, and new tears welled in his eyes. Emily's chest ached. She knew that the feeling of being small and lost in a world too big. "It's all right," she said gently, brushing the hair from his forehead. "I'm sure he'll be back any second. While we wait, would you like me to tell you a story?" The boy hesitated, then nodded. So Emily began weaving a tale about a brave knight who had once lost his way in the forest, but found his path again, because someone kind had given him hope. The boy's tears slowly faded into giggles as he listened. Emily didn't even notice the people around them staring. For once, her shyness didn't matter. What Emily didn't know was that a tall man in a tailored suit had been watching from a few steps away. Alexander Grant, billionaire entrepreneur, a man whose face appeared on magazine covers, whose name was whispered in boardrooms. He had been standing near the counter, frozen, when he saw Emily kneel before his son. He had been delayed only a few minutes by a business call. But to a child, a few minutes could feel like forever. And in that time, this shy woman, someone he didn't even know, had stepped in and given his son comfort he desperately needed. When the boy spotted him at last, he ran into his father's arms, laughing through the last of his tears. Alexander hugged him tight, relief etched across his usually composed face. Then he looked back at Emily. "Miss," he said in a deep, steady voice, "thank you. You didn't have to do that, but you have no idea how much it means to me." Emily flushed, her shy nature tugging at her. "It was nothing. I just didn't want him to feel alone." But to Alexander, it wasn't nothing. It was everything. He had seen hundreds of people pass by his crying child, without a second glance. Only she had stopped. He studied her quietly. There was no trace of calculation in her eyes, no sign that she recognized who he was, just genuine kindness. Later, as fate would have it, their paths would cross again, this time not in a cafe, but in a way that would change both of their lives forever. For Emily, it all started with a simple choice, to kneel beside a crying boy. And for Alexander Grant, it was the moment he realized that true wealth wasn't found in bank accounts or skyscrapers, but in rare souls like hers. Emily Harper had never imagined that stopping for a simple cup of coffee could change her life. She was a quiet woman, accustomed to fading into the background, preferring her solitude to crowded streets. That afternoon, the downtown cafe buzzed with the usual clatter of cups, orders shouted over the hum of conversation, and the occasional laugh that seemed far too loud. Emily was used to a tour, rather. She tried to be, but today, something made her pause. Near the corner, a small boy sat alone on the floor, knees drawn to his chest, tears streaking his cheeks. His tiny hands clutched a crumpled napkin as if it were a lifeline. People walked past, distracted, oblivious, or maybe unwilling to intervene. Emily hesitated. Talking to strangers had always made her nervous, yet the sight of the boy's despair pushed her forward. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked softly, kneeling down to his level. The boy sniffled, jerking his head toward the exit. "I lost my dad. He said he'd be right back, but he didn't come." His voice trembled. small and fragile, and new tears began to fall. Emily's chest tightened. She brushed the boy's hair away from his forehead. "It's okay. He'll be back soon. While we wait, do you want me to tell you a story?" The boy blinked, unsure, then nodded hesitantly. So Emily began. She told him a tale of a brave knight who got lost in a forest but found his way again, thanks to someone kind who believed in him. She used her soft, gentle voice, the one she usually reserved for books and quiet evenings at home. Slowly, the boy's tears dried, replaced by giggles and shy smiles. Emily didn't notice the people staring. Her world had shrunk to just the two of them, unbeknownst to Emily. She was being watched. Alexander Grant, billionaire entrepreneur, had been near the counter, negotiating a sudden business crisis over the phone, known for his ironclad composure and ruthless efficiency. Alexander was unaccustomed to emotional moments, especially in public. Yet there he stood, frozen, as he watched his son's small face brighten, comforted by a stranger. He had been delayed by only 10 minutes. But to his 5-year-old son, it had felt like an eternity. And in those 10 minutes, a shy woman unknown to him had stepped in, offering exactly what he had not: patience, warmth, and kindness. When the boy finally spotted his father, he ran into Alexander's arms, giggling through the remnants of his tears. Relief flooded Alexander, but it was Emily he could not stop looking at. "Miss, thank you," Alexander said, his voice deep and steady. "You didn't have to do that, but you have no idea how much it means to me." Emily flushed, instinctively looking down. "I just didn't want him to feel alone," she said quietly. Alexander's gaze softened. He had seen hundreds of people walk past a crying child without a second thought. Only she had stopped. "Can I buy you a coffee?" he asked, not as a business offer, but as a gesture of gratitude. Emily hesitated. She was used to fading into the background, to being invisible. And yet something about his gaze, steady, earnest, made her nod. They sat together, a small quiet table between them. Alexander didn't mention his wealth or status. She didn't bring up her shy, awkward tendencies. For once, two people simply existed in the same space. No barriers, no assumptions. Over the following weeks, Alexander found reasons to visit that same cafe, sometimes with his son, sometimes with just a polite smile and a wave. Emily found herself anticipating these visits, her world slowly expanding beyond the confines of her apartment and quiet routines. One evening, as the cafe emptied, Alexander finally spoke with vulnerability he rarely allowed himself. "Emily, I need to be honest. I've met many people, many acquaintances, but very few have shown the kind of kindness I saw in you that day. It had changed me." Emily's heart raced. She wasn't used to being noticed, much less admired by someone like him. "I just did what felt right," she murmured. He smiled, softly, and reached across the table. "That's exactly why it matters. Not because it was calculated, not because it had any agenda, but because it came from your heart." From that moment, their lives intertwined. Emily's quiet world was no longer limited to books and solitude. Alexander's fast-paced life had suddenly found a balance, one that reminded him that wealth and power were meaningless without humanity. And it all began with a small act. A shy woman comforting a crying child in a crowded cafe. A moment Alexander Grant would never forget, and neither would Emily Harper, whose courage to act changed both of their lives forever.